A very good afternoon, everyone. Today we are going to take a new topic which is related to economics. The topic is demand, a very popular topic and something which is very basic for all the students. So let us just start quickly. In this lecture, we are going to cover concept of law of demand. We'll be covering the law of demand with what is demand. Then we'll be covering what are the types of demand available in the market. And then we'll have some determinants of the demand. So if we go to the concept of demand, demand is something where it is an equal rule that somebody has desire to buy something plus he is willing to buy. Sometimes we have desire of something, but we do not have money to pay for it. So when two things match together, say for example, I want to buy some plan, postpaid plan, plus I have a money to buy it. So both the things when get together, there's a demand for a product. There'll be a demand to buy a postpaid plan. So demand is always backed by two factors. One is desire for a commodity and second one is the willingness of the consumer to pay for it. The third thing which becomes or which adds up to the effective demand is we have ability and willingness. Sometimes it happens that I have the ability to pay for it, but I'm not willing to spend on this product. But sometimes I do not have the ability, but I am willing to pay. So when ability will match with willingness to pay, the term, a new terminology comes up in economics, which is known as effective demand. You may demand for something, but you may not buy it. An effective demand is somewhere you are willing to pay for it. You can pay for it and you are willing to pay for it. Both things when will come together, the terminology will be known as effective demand. That means indirectly when a product is purchased, it is known as effective demand of the product. Demand is again seen individually and in market. When we sum up the demand of all the consumers together for a single product, it is known as market demand. Market demand does not sums up the total number of product. Market demands for an individual product gets added up for all the consumers. So if everybody wants to buy one pencil, so if 10 consumer wants to buy one pencil, the market demand is 10 pencils. It doesn't mean that a consumer wants to buy one eraser, one pencil and one pen. So the total demand is 3. So market demand is usually calculated on the basis of the product. So every product has its own market demand and every product has its own individual demand as well. We also know that demand has some relationship with price. So when demand has a relationship with price, it is known that it is said that when price is lowest, people try to demand more. So it is an inverse relationship between demand and price. The lower the price, the higher will be the demand. The higher the price, the lower will be the demand. So because of this inverse relationship, we have this demand curve which is sloping downwards. Here we can see on the y-axis we have price, on x-axis we have quantity demanded. If price is P1, the quantity demanded is less Q1. If price comes to P2, price has decreased from P1 to P2. The quantity demanded has increased from Q1 to Q2. If price again decreases to P3, the quantity demanded will increase. So this graph shows you that inverse relationship and there's a downward sloping line, and this downward sloping line is known as demand curve. There are types of demand. We have 3 types of demand. One is price demand, one is income demand, and one is cross demand. Let us get into the details of these demand curves and the types of demand. When we see that when we see the price demand, the demand is affected by the price. When we say this is an income demand, the demand is affected by the income. Income of the consumer is rising. That is why he is buying something. So that is income demand. And a cross demand is the demand for the substitute products and the complementary product. Say, for example, if petrol gets expensive, the demand for cars will come down. So the car and petrol are complementary products. They have to get along. If petrol is expensive, we cannot put petrol into the car and we do not want to run car to so much kilometers. So we'll be buying, the demand of cars will reduce. So a cross demand comes up when the price of the main products is affected by its substitute product or is affected by its complementary products. Now we'll see this in detail. Now when there's a shift, there's a terminology which is called as shift in demand curve. Now, this shift in demand curves comes when the demand changes due to other factors, like due to factors other than price. Because of price, if there's a change in demand, we do not have a shift in demand curve. We have a movement along the demand curve. The demand curve will move upwards and downwards, as you can see in the first graph. So here, if demand is moving from the first red dot to the second red dot, this is decrease in demand. If demand is moving from the third red dot to the second red dot, it is increase in demand. So when due to price, if the demand is changing, there will be a movement along the curve. Whereas if other than price, if demand is shifting, then we have shift in the demand curve. The demand curve will come from one place to another place. So there's a shift. Shift could be rightward, shift could be leftward. So there could be increase in demand and there could be decrease in demand. And all the other types of demand, that means the cross demand and the income demand, leads to this type of curves. Like if income is increasing, so the demand is increasing, but price is still the same, so the demand is getting the main line you can see, and is getting converted into the dotted line. So this dotted line shows that there's a shift in demand curve, but the price is still the same. Price is not changed, price is same, but the quantity has changed from 8 to 12. So it may happen that if my income is increasing, I'm buying more of chocolates, or I'm going to buy more of my clothes which I like. So that way, if even if the price is same, I'm going to spend more because my income has increased. So due to income or due to any other factor other than price, if there's a change, this change is known as shift in demand curve. Whereas if with the price it changes, it is into the movement along the demand curve. So all these types of demand will lead to either increase in demand or decrease. This shift will either be in increasing side, that is rightward side, or either be in leftward side, which is into the decreasing side. Now, why this shift occurs? What is the reason? Why do we have increase in demand? So we know that it is either due to income or either due to substitute goods or complementary goods. So there are some examples which is given here. The good may become popular. So there's another thing which shows up, like if fashion changes. So we have a popularity of wearing one pieces more nowadays, which we do not, the Western was only denim, jeans and top. But now we have one pieces, we have frocks in India. So the fashion has changed. So due to this change in fashion, the demand has changed. Otherwise, the second point says that the price of substitute goods increases. So if the price of substitute goods increases, say for example, I usually use a gel pen, but the price of gel pen gets increased to a very higher level. So I have to shift myself towards the ball pen. So due to increase in price of substitute product, gel pens, the demand for ball pens increases. So this is price of substitute goods. Price of complementary goods. You can see all these 3 points, rise in income. All these 3 points shows you the other types of demand other than price. And the another reason which shows that there's seasonal factor or there's season due to which we have change in demand. So could be like in seasons we used to buy raincoats. When the schools gets open, we used to buy school bags more. The demand for stationery increases. The demand for books and notebooks gets increased when the school are going to get open. So these factors which are other than price will lead to increase in demand. So these are some examples. We can see more examples, like you can see the hike, the income of the consumer increases, say due to hike in their wages. Clear? So each thing, agar if their income is rise due to increase in DA, sometimes we have seen that the central government employees DAs has increased. So I'll buy more clothes because because my income has increased. I'll buy more of my jewelry because my income has increased. Okay. Sometimes my preference gets changed. Previously, we used to buy a color television was very rare. But now a LED television is very common. A 40-inch LED television is very common in every household, even in a middle class family. So even because the technology has changed, the preference of the customer has changed. So demand curve has shifted to Right. If people expect, like if I say that the price of is going to get higher in future, if I say if I want to buy a house today, so I have to buy it today only, maybe on loan, because I know if after 10 days I'm going to save money and buy house, the price of buying a house will even go higher. So instead, I have to buy it today because I know in future the price is going to change. So your expectations about the price in the future will lead the increase in demand of that product today. The price of related commodities, as I've told you, substitute products and complementary products. Here, the example of tea and coffee is given, which is a very basic example. I've told you the example of gel pen and ball pen. Same applies to tea and coffee. Same applies to complementary product of petrol and car. So due to these examples, we have either shift in demand, that is either an increase or a decrease in demand. Same examples, if you will see to the other side. Say, for example, the people will say that due to LED TVs, the eyesight of the children are getting blocked or getting affected. So we'll not buy LED TV. So our preferences will change. So there could be decrease. I may not buy more of clothes, but I will buy more of jewelry because my income is rising. Clear. If I have some agricultural production has come less, so any agricultural production, the wheat has become expensive. So I'll be going on any other grain, which is a cereal, which is a substitute of wheat. So due to seasonal factors also, the demand may either rise or the demand may either, there'll be either increase in demand or there'll be either decrease in demand. Due to income, we can say there is one example which is of usually in income we have two types of demand. It is a normal good and an inferior good. Even if your income is rising, you will not buy the inferior good. Okay, so due to this, we usually, when our income rises, the price of inferior goods goes down. We do not buy the inferior goods. Say, for example, I have something today. We have no, you know that the salt has become into Tata salt has basic salt, then it has iodized salt, which is little expensive. Then we have a rock salt. We are taking some rock salt in the food also, which is even more expensive. So if my income is rising, I'm not going to buy salt more. I'm going to buy a rock salt pack. So I'm going to increase the quality, but the inferior good which I have, I'm not going to consume more. So in some cases, in inferior good cases, usually with the increase in income, the demand of that product reduces. You will not buy a salt of an uh, ordinary thing. You will buy a salt of a higher quality. So your preferences gets affected for inferior goods. So this case only applies on income and demand. In case of income only for normal goods, high the income, increase, there will be increase in demand, whereas an increase in income may lead to decrease in demand of the inferior goods. So in case of income and demand, we usually have to say this because we always have to see that increase in demand or decrease in demand gets whatever special cases, wherever there are exceptions to the law, we have to see to it. So in case of demand of substitute goods and complementary goods, as we have seen the types of demands. So for substitute goods, you see the graphs of the demand curve changes, whereas in case of complementary goods, the graph changes. Why is this happening? Because the substitute goods shows a positive relationship. If the price of gel pen is rising, the demand of ball pen is rising. So price of substitute goods is giving rise to price of the demand of the main product. So there's a positive relationship. So whenever in between the two variables, you will see a positive relationship, the curve will change. The curve will move upwards in the right direction. Whereas when car and petrol, the price of petrol rises, the demand for car falls. So there's a complementary connection. So again, we can see a downward sloping curve. So in all the cases, income and demand and complementary cases, we have to see that the graph changes. This is all about the types of demand, the substitution effects, and the income effect. That's all for the class. We can go ahead with the determinants in the next video. Thank you.